Attention! Sergeant Vlad reporting for transurfing duty. At ease, makers. Okay, now that we got that weird little intro out of the way, welcome to another class in Reality Transurfing. I'm so excited about this one because it's really close to my heart. Now, we're going to talk about the most important subject in all of reality creation or manifestation. Now, it's not the most sexiest of topics, and I could talk about how to manifest $10,000 into your account every single month, or how to manifest becoming more magnetic in your significant other and find love and all of that wonderful stuff, and I would get way more views doing that. But this is not what it's about. This is about truly understanding the mechanics of reality and being real makers of our life. True change makers, being able to control reality to a certain extent. And so if you really want to be able to change your life and transform your life, you have to take control of your attention. I cannot stress this enough. Attention is the only thing that you truly own and can control. It goes attention first and then everything else. Everything comes out of attention. Now, contrary to popular belief, time, gold, or diamonds is not your most valuable resource in life. It is attention. Attention is the most powerful currency in existence because where it goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, life grows. It is the soul's currency. It's the raw light of the observer. Wherever we place our attention, that's the part of reality that comes alive. Think back to science class. You remember when you had a magnifying glass? You know, light is absolutely everywhere. Imagine you're outside and you saw the sun, right? The light is absolutely everywhere. But your attention is this lens in the magnifying glass, right? Wherever you put this lens and concentrate the light, that's where, pardon this crappy pun, but that's where the world lights up. Wherever your attention rests, that's where life goes. You see, even in your body, people think that moving energy within your body is some sort of fancy thing that only high-powered yogis can do, but it's so simple. It's simply imagining by imagining you're moving your attention, and by imagining your energy move, you're putting your attention on where you want that energy to move, and that's where blood also flows, and that's where all of the nutrients, all of the good stuff moves within your body. All of Qigong is just focusing your attention and imagining your attention moving throughout your body, so you're moving this energy through your meridian system. That's all it is. And so attention is so incredibly powerful. Why do you think the powers that be are fighting for it so hard, right? You have this idea that was brought up, I think I brought it up in the last class, about how, social media is free, right? And when you are not paying for the product, you are the product. Pendulums are harvesting your energy by capturing your attention through any means necessary. Now, most of us spend our attention unconsciously. We pay interest to fears. We invest in problems and focus on stories of lack. And reality is a wonderful accountant, a very faithful one at that always balances the book and pays us back accordingly. But when we choose to fund possibility, gratitude, and dreams over problems, those accounts grow richer. Attention always compounds. Small deposits today become abundant lifelines tomorrow. This is why awareness is wealth. Attention is the currency of creation. We must invest wisely because reality always pays dividends. Some of the ideas that I'm going to bring to you today are not originally of Transurfing Yourself steps 1 through 5. I'm going to bring ideas from Tufti and as well as Transurfing Yourself, which is a knowledge system that hasn't made its way into the Western world. It hasn't been translated from Russian yet, but Zeland brought it into form several years ago as we made the transition from Pisces to the Aquarian age. But your boy, Vladdy, has got you. And so the idea of attention is brought up quite significantly in Tufti and Transurfing Yourself, but it's also something that I found to be unbelievably important through my own observations with members of my community and also obviously my own practice. Attention is foundational to everything else. All knowledge in the world is worthless if you stay unconscious and you're lost in the waking dream. It does not matter how many techniques you learn, how many books you have read, how many videos of mine you have watched, or how advanced you think you are if you can't 1. Pull your attention from the script. 2. If you can't catch yourself before you spiral. And 3. Place attention on the positive. You will never be able to shift your consciousness. And if your consciousness doesn't change, your reality can't change. Every method in transurfing, manifestation, mysticism, psychology, all of it collapses without attention. Attention is the mechanism that allows you to choose a lifeline instead of being dragged by one. Now, if you don't control your attention, the script controls you. And if you don't direct your attention, it's pendulums that will direct you. And if you don't wake up, you repeat the same day over and over again, the same reactions and the same life. Attention is your direction. It's where you point your sails. It's your steering wheel. Everything else is simply the map. Now, you're not gonna like this, or maybe some of you are not gonna like this, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings whatsoever. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm only aware enough to realize that I am still sleeping. So if you can't do this, then you are a sleepwalker. You don't actually live your life. You are sleepwalking through the waking dream. You see, consciousness is a very, very funny thing. And when I say consciousness, I mean awareness, being aware of where you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. Fully aware of those actions. Now, you can only know consciousness in yourself. You can only know it when you have it. This is why it's funny. When you don't have it, you don't know that you don't have it until it returns to you again. When it comes back to you, you will see that you have gone quite some time without having it. You can even see it when it has appeared and disappeared. By observing this in yourself, you will see that moments of consciousness are very, very short. They're like flickers of awareness, just several seconds long, and they're separated by very long periods of unconsciousness. We are, for the most part, sleepwalking automatons moving through life like machines. As you begin becoming more aware of this, you will see that you can think, feel, act, work, drive at dangerously high speeds, solve problems of all sorts without being conscious at all. You go into and out of the play remembering that you're in a dream, and then you forget again, and then on it goes. It's so weird. Now, the script of reality, the matrix, really only stays alive while the characters remain asleep. But when the player in the dream becomes lucid, they can do anything. Before we get deeper into this, I want to give you a little challenge. And it's very simple. And if you do it, you'll understand attention better in yourself, and you realize why it's so powerful, and you'll understand it more than most people. Now, become aware, this is the challenge, Notice how many times you wake up. Realize that I never said, notice how many times you fall asleep, because no one can notice when they fall asleep. They can only notice when they snap back into it and suddenly realize, oh shoot, I was asleep again. Before we get deeper into this lesson, I want to give you a very simple challenge. It's very easy. And when you do it, you'll understand attention better within yourself, and also you understand it better than most. And as you watch this video, I want you to notice how many times you wake up. Notice I didn't say how many times you fall asleep, because nobody can realize how many times they fall asleep. You can only notice it when you snap back and suddenly realize, oh shoot, I fell asleep again. So in that moment of coming back online, that's the entire point. You will do this more often now that I brought your attention to it than you would normally while watching a YouTube video, because YouTube videos and TV and social media is very hypnotizing. We enter sort of a trance state, but just become aware of it. This is all I'm asking. And at the end, I'll bring your attention to it again. And you'll realize how short our attention span truly is, and how easily we drift back from a lucid point to ones of being sleepwalkers or sleepwatchers in this case. In order to show you how important attention is and why it's so powerful and critical to our work, we're going to go back and we're going to review the model of reality, but instead of from the transurfing perspective, no, let me say transurfing reality, the way it was presented in my first video on the alternatives model of the universe, we're going to use a much more approachable model as presented in Tufti. And in this series, we're doing the whole transurfing universe of ideas, as well as we're branching out in the various different complementary knowledge systems that I've acquired over time to put together a kind of complete and colorful picture of the type of work we need to do to become true makers of our world. All right, I drew a little diagram for us here. So we're going to talk about the model of reality. Now I know I did a whole video on this, the first one. That was the alternatives model, and it was a little bit more heady. This one is much more approachable, and it comes from Tufti's expression, and it really helps paint the picture of why having your attention is so fucking important and why it's so easy for us to lose it. Now, we think that we are creating in real time, and that's what it feels like, but that's smoke and mirrors, okay? What is actually happening is that reality is more like a film, and it's no coincidence that we have films in our world, because as above, so below. The mind cannot create anything that does not already exist in the fabric of reality. We are projectors of consciousness, right? And so imagine this. You have raw light. This is a light bulb. This is also referred to as source light. Source light passes through a slide, and then that gets projected onto a screen. This is how a projector works, and we also refer to as projectors of consciousness. If we did not have the slide, you'd just have white light being tossed out there. The slide is you. You are the fragment of the one consciousness, the source light, spreading out and creating an image on the screen of life. This is you. You are the slide, right? This, your world, your slides are moving through here. Source light projects through it. The observer, the attention, the observer behind your eyes, the observer who is observing, awareness, unfiltered. That is the source light. That is the power. And that gets projected through you, through all, and your slide is like your beliefs, your expectations, your thoughts, your identity. All of that then gets projected onto the screen of life, And the screen of life is basically you inverse. It is you inside out. It is a mirror reflection of you. Time is as static as space, right? When you unroll a film reel, you see that all of the frames are lined up and they're already pre-recorded. In the alt space model, you have all frames, or what we call in the Tufti expression, in the eternity archive. All of the frames that have ever existed, can exist, do exist, will ever potentially exist, already exist in the eternity archive, or what we are familiar with in the alt space. Now, each frame is a frozen piece of reality. And what's happening is that your lifeline is a reel, right? It's a reel right here. And we are moving through each frame billions of times per second. This is what Zeland was talking about. Bashar also talks about this as well. Now here's the important part. Each frame here is made up of a scene and a script. The scene is the visual environment. We've talked about this before, but the script is what's important. The script is the information or the way that matter is laid out, the way that the scene unfolds. This is your internal dialogue, right? It's your thoughts, it's your feelings, it's your actions. But you know what? They're not yours. They're not yours. That's insane. Your actions are not yours. Your thoughts, your internal dialogue are not yours if you do not have your attention. If you have your attention lost in the script. If it's in the movie and you're not in your body right now, if you don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions are not yours. They belong to the script. If you are not awake, you are simply acting out what is already happening in the pre-recorded film reel. All the world's a stage, baby. You feel like you are choosing, but what you're doing is just you're acting out the scene that's already encoded in the frame. You're just executing the next line in the script and the next action in the script that's already pre-recorded. You are stuck in what we call the dream trap. As I mentioned, we are projectors of consciousness. And the current life that we're living through right now, the one that you're sitting in, is one film reel that's being put through the projector. If you don't like the life or the movie that's currently playing and you continue to fight with it, it is absolutely hopeless. It is like being at home watching a movie and yelling at your TV because you don't like the storyline. But nothing is stopping you from changing the film reel, from changing that movie. But if you fight with what's being projected on your screen of life, if you're battling with these obstacles in your life, it is worse than pointless because you're giving your attention to the battling of obstacles. You think that you're trying to solve problems, you think that you're putting out fires, but the more attention that you put on putting out fires or trying to create change within the already script, it just feeds more battles, more fires, more problems to put out. There are infinite film reels to choose from. And so Reality Transurfing, Tufti, all of this work, this attention is all about learning how to wake up within the current script so you're not being dragged by it, and learning how to switch film reels. Let me be crystal clear. If you don't have your attention, you're being dragged by the script. You're being dragged by the script. You think your thoughts are yours, your emotions are yours, your beliefs are yours. You think that what is happening in the script of your life is real, and that's the problem. It's not real. You're basically, if you have your attention in the movie, in the thing that's being projected on the screen, instead of on yourself, you're being hijacked. A sudden email from work all of a sudden tightens your chest and you assume that something is wrong. And then you create self-blame. And then you start all of a sudden feeling guilty for something, or start or thinking about problems about something's about to occur, or that you might get in trouble, or that you're fired. If your partner asks you to sit, or someone calls you a certain name, you take it seriously, right? And then that sends you on a whole fucking spiral downwards. And then whatever the worst things that happen in your reality, you take those seriously. And you put your attention on that as well. And you continue to have your emotions and your ideas and your thoughts and your expectations being hijacked by what you're seeing on the screen. But that's not what's projecting the consciousness. You are. The slide, your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own projections. But if you don't have your attention here, then what's being projected is simply something that's already pre-recorded. Again, if you don't have your attention, you're being dragged by the script. Remember that. This is the whole point. This is why having your attention is so important. When you wake up and are observing yourself and reality simultaneously, it creates a split between you and the film. Now, this is crucial. When you have your attention, you can shift between frames. It's between these frames right here. It's between these frames where you can shift lifelines or shift reels, whatever terminology that you want to use. Science will make great progress when they realize that the same rules that apply to the quantum, the micro, also apply to the quanta, the macro. As above, so below. And the reason I say this is because in a vacuum, subatomic particles, the light stuff that particles of our world are made up of, flash into and out of existence. They go through a process of birth and annihilation, right? And so there's this moment between frames that is the annihilation. And out the annihilation is a birth of a new frame. Where these go, we don't really know. But it's between these frames, when you have your attention, that you can shift lifelines. You can shift reels. And this is why it's so important to have your attention amongst the many other things, not being dragged by the script, but also being aware enough to slip between frames and move onto another branch of life. To take this idea further, I'm going to talk about dreams and lucid dreaming because it's a very important theme in transurfing, particularly lucid dreaming. And the reason is because we can learn a lot about the way that our reality works by understanding how dreams and lucid dreaming works. I'm going to give you an experience of my own dream. Now, I practice lucid dreaming. I also work with my dreams a lot. I have a journal by my bed, and every single time I wake up from a dream, I record it because it is my unconscious self communicating to me the things that I should work on, be aware of, ways that I'm progressing, and it's speaking to me via symbols. And I've also been practicing lucid dreaming because it's absolutely insane and very, very cool. And this night I was more in a semi-lucid state. I was flying through the mall place, and if you don't know what the mall place is, look it up on TikTok. There's lots of people with other experiences about this. This is like this common area. I don't know, but I don't know how I just experience it. I don't know how to explain it. That's just what it looked like. That's what was happening. So I was basically flying through this mall space doing loop-de-loops on my air mattress. And I didn't really need the air mattress to fly, but I was using that object as like a means to help me fly. And I was kind of like semi-lucid. So I was like looking around, doing loop-de-loops. I'm flying through all these obstacles. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And this is so neat. Like I'm having fun. But I have this idea of like, what where exactly am I? I'm conscious of what I'm doing, I'm conscious of my moves, but I didn't really understand the environment. And then I decided to touch down. So I touched down on ground and I see two people that were my age. One was a male and one was a female. And often in my dreams, I'm visited by both a male and a female, and one is usually often my animus, and the other one is represented as my anima. These are your unconscious male and female versions of you, and so the ways of interacting with the different parts of yourself, as expressed in the system by Carl Jung. And so I go up to them and I'm really confused and I'm like, hey, what is this place? And the female, all of a sudden, like flashes to me and she goes, oh, this is a dream. This is exactly like where you're from. Boom. And I wake up and I haven't forgotten that dream whatsoever. It's been singed in my mind. And it brought to my attention this, what are they called? Singing rhymes, I forget, lullabies, no, whatever, but I'm gonna sing it to you. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. There's a reason that we have these, forget lullabies, in our stories, in our history, in our culture. We know that we are dreaming because we have a relation to the experience from when we wake up. Life can also be seen as a dream in relation to death. And so there's this wonderful quote attributed to the Buddhist teachings. Life is but a dream and death is the awakening. Rumi also said, this place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. Another way of explaining of how when we don't have our attention, we get dragged by the script is via the dream trap. Every single night when you guys put your cute little sweet little heads on the pillow, your mind sort of turns off. It falls into a kind of trap. Because in dreams, the mind never questions the reality of events, no matter how bizarre they are. Even when you wake up, you're like surprised by how real those dreams were. The mind is always seeking rational explanations, but it treats the strange occurrences in dreams as if they were completely normal and as if they were actually happening. You could be getting chased by stinky ass slimy socks and your mind goes, oh no, this is normal, I have to be scared right now, let me run away. And that becomes your nightmare, right? And you don't really question it and it appears silly only once you wake up, but while you're in the dream, it's freaking real, right? And the same thing is happening in waking life. The mind almost never stops to ask, is this real? It just runs the script. It believes everything that it sees. And then it looks for explanations, trying to stay in control in some sort of way. And then because the mind never questions itself, the mind falls into a dream trap, both at night when you are sleeping, but also during the day when we mistake the illusion for reality. Dreams are not real to our waking life, and we can also say that life is not real in comparison to death. Sometimes we experience something truly extraordinary and we wake up inside of the actual dream and realize that we are dreaming and move through it being fully aware that we're dreaming. Now, this usually happens during a very powerful or often nightmarish type of dream where it jolts us into awareness and then the dream moves into a lucid state and suddenly you know that you are dreaming and you move through this world, this virtual world, fully aware that it's not real. And that, my friends, is a very powerful thing. And that's the same state that we're working with right now, but now in the waking dream. Now, if you've never lucid dreamt before, know that it's not fantasy. It's a real documented skill, it's something I practice. There's books on it, there's studies, there's communities all built around it, and there's even people that practice it as a spiritual method for enlightenment, dream yoga. When you become lucid in a dream, that whole thing just opens up. And if you're wondering if you can do something in a lucid dream, the answer is simple. It's yes, absolutely anything. You want to fly? Yes, use your intention. You want to switch roles with that disgusting slimy pair of socks and you want to start chasing it? Sure, go ahead. You want to have sexy time with whoever comes up in your mind? Of course. You want to visualize other words, dimensions, timelines? Easy, no problem. You want to hear the sound of your soul tone? Easy. Well, I mean, some stuff is harder to develop over time, but anything is possible in a lucid dream. It's truly incredible when it begins happening, and particularly when it happens more frequently and you're able to explore worlds. It's also a little bit scary because it all opens up. You don't realize how powerful you truly are. It's absolutely magical. Also, as a psychonaut, someone who's had crazy amounts of experience with psychedelics and plant medicines, lucid dreams are, I don't want to compare them, but it's just insanity on top of insanity on top of insanity. Now, there's two conditions to a lucid dream. One is you have to wake up, and two, you have to realize that here you can do absolutely anything. Any decision that you take unlocks the whole playground. Once those two ideas click, the dream becomes yours. There's a lot of principles and similarities that apply to a lucid dream or sleeping dream and a waking dream or waking life. The difference is density, right? Here, everything is inert like tar, while in a dream, everything is weightless, and in a thought, an intention, it becomes instant. But here, it's so much heavier. You're moving through very warm, viscous tar. It's a lot slower, a lot more inert, and a lot more stable. But the mechanics of it are the same. We're going to talk about this more when we get to intention, but it's all about intention and state of being. You can bend reality, you can shift timelines, you can shape outcomes, and you can change the script, but it's just not with the same sort of fluidity and instantaneousness of a dream. In a lucid dream, if you want to fly, you just have the intention to fly. In waking life, intention still works the same, but it requires a lot more clarity, maybe persistence to really shift and change reality, or a lot less resistance, or a real stable, powerful inner state. We're going to talk about all of this. But Jesus could walk on water, in a sense, and so could you. If you have the level of outer intention of a Messiah, you could do the same. But we're not there yet. But we can still influence reality in massive ways from our current state of being. Yes, you can too. No matter who you are, you can literally shift reality in the direction of your choosing from whatever state of awareness or practice that you are. But first, in order to do that, you need to be able to have your attention and not be so wrapped up and stuck in the script or the dream trap. So the key is the same in both worlds. You have to wake up in the experience, you have to become lucid in the waking dream, and you have to have a certain power and control over your intention. And then reality will eventually mirror it back. And this is why I've dedicated an entire class on attention, because it's that important. You can't do anything without attention. You're stuck in the dream trap. You are being dragged by the script. You have to become lucid in the waking dream. And then you have to realize that here anything can happen and you can do anything. Most people, though, are sleepwalking through life, and you can see it everywhere. People move around, they talk, they react, they make decisions, but they're not actually present. They're not really even there. They're simply following the script of the reel that they're currently on. They don't even wake up once during the day, and they don't even realize that they're asleep. Now, I'm not saying this to insult you or from a place of superiority. I know for myself that the only reason I can see how asleep everyone is because how often I realize and notice how easily I fall back into a state of sleep. I'm only awake enough to realize that I'm sleeping. Awareness, the one behind the eyes, is always there. It's always in the background. But conscious awareness, actual attention, that's extremely rare. This whole practice that we're gonna learn is about learning how to wake up more often and not about learning how to stay awake forever, because we're not gonna be able to do that. Most people can't even hold their awareness for a full minute, even if they're literally trying. But we can increase the frequencies of our waking up, and those moments of awareness slowly start to get longer and more stable and more often. Now, most people are asleep not necessarily because they're lazy or unaware, although that is a factor because it takes more effort to wake up and hold your attention than just being lost in the dream of life. It's really easy to just sort of let go. It's not easier in the sense of, holy shit, now you're being dragged by whatever happens, you're spiraling out of control and you can't control your reality. Life becomes easier when you wake up, but it takes effort. But the real reason is that they're stuck on either one of two screens. So we have 2 points of awareness, and you can think of in terms of two screens because we're using the film analogy of life, right? So one, we have the inner screen, my bad, inner screen, and then we have the outer screen. So your inner screen is your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, your idea loops, your imaginary arguments, your future predictions, your dwelling on the past. And then you have your outer screen. This is what's in front of you. This is your external world. This is like your environment. So like the room that you're in, you're looking at your screen right now, your digital screen, and then you have what people are saying. You're focusing on that. Most people are not, they're focusing on what they're saying. Then you have what's happening in the news, and then you might be looking at where you're stepping. But predominantly the outer screen that people are stuck in is the one on their phones or digital devices. These are the ones where their attention is hijacked by media, pendulums, the drama, the noise, etc. And when they're not hijacked by the external environment and the information that's being pushed up on them, they're stuck in their head, their worries, thinking about the past, dwelling on the future, etc. Here's the problem. If your attention is focused on either one screen at one time, you are asleep. If your attention is in your head on the inner screen, you are a ghost. If your attention is focused on the outer screen, you are a puppet. Neither one has power. Both are reactive. In order to wake up, you have to move your attention to both screens at the same time. And Tufti gave us a wonderful phrase to use. You say, I see myself, I see reality. In this state, you're no longer lost in thoughts, and you're no longer drowning in the scene. You're holding both in awareness at the same time, and this splits the trance. This state of awareness on both screens, it fractures the automatic script. You wake up in the film and you feel the movement. You're no longer the actor and you're the operator. When you wake up and you actually say to yourself and you feel it, I see myself, I see reality, and you do it consciously, not just say it willy-nilly, but you actually feel yourself. You know where you are. I'm in this room. I'm speaking to you guys. I'm in my body. I see where I'm at. I'm observant of others. I understand the crows are cawking, whatever that might be. And you keep your attention on both screens at the same time, and you genuinely look around. You wake up, and then you realize, once you wake up, that here anything is possible. I also like to say, I'm in my dream. That also helps me, that additional layer helps that other side of me where when you wake, I remember the two conditions of becoming lucid in your waking dream. Waking up, I see myself, I see reality, and here anything is possible. That's my association with I'm in my dream, because in dreams, anything is possible. And when you do that, you fully understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. You can say to yourself, I have my attention and I'm no longer a part of the script. So again, I see myself, I see reality. I see myself, the inner screen, I see reality, the outer screen. I know exactly what I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it. You have now stepped outside of the pre-recorded script of reality and you are fully autonomous. You are no longer sleepwalking through the waking dream. How are we going to do this? Don't be fooled. You can't hold your attention nonstop, and you can't trust yourself to stay awake in the dream because our default mode is on autopilot. It's being run by the script, it's being pulled by pendulums, and it's lost in all of our heady loops. So instead of relying on willpower or motivation, we're going to use another tool. We're going to use triggers. Triggers are cues that are planted in the film that remind us, hey, this is a dream, it's time to wake up. Triggers are pre-programmed signals that tell your subconscious to watch out for, and they could be anything. They could be someone saying your name. They could be a notification that you get on your phone. It could be every single time that you walk through a door frame. It could be every single time you have a new scene that changes in your life. So you getting in the car is one scene. You entering the grocery store is another scene. And so I also call these beats because of acting. Not that I am an actor, but I took acting classes. It could be you touching a doorknob. It could be a bird flying overhead. It could be absolutely anything that happens. It's up to you. Anything that is repeatable and recognizable can be a trigger. It just shows up once you've already programmed that in your mind, and it cues you for the response of, oh, I need to wake up. And then you go through the process of, I see myself, I see reality, and you do it consciously. And over time, you develop your awareness. And the more awareness that you have, the more you want to develop your awareness. And you realize that you really are in a dream. And then you stop being dragged by the script. You're no longer in the dream trap. You are awake. A thing that I do is I draw an eyeball on my hand every single morning. When I see this, I'm reminded, oh, reality is looking at me. It's time for me to look at reality properly through the two screens. I have members in my community who have reminders on their wallpaper. I also have a reminder for my wallpaper, but this is using the plate more often, and I'll talk about that. That's incredible. But I have people who put sticky notes. I used to when I lived in another house, I was really working on this, and I had sticky notes absolutely everywhere. Whatever you need to do to increase your own awareness, to get your attention back. Because when you do not have your attention, you don't have your soul. And so we're trying to snatch that bad boy up. Now, as a recommendation, I suggest that you use these next scenarios as your triggers at the very least. And this is when you're using either an ATM, could be one trigger, or you're at a cashier. Wake up. Another one that could be very valuable for you is walking through a door frame. I think another one that's really valuable is a mirror. When you see yourself in a mirror. These are 3 different triggers that you can use and that I think have been really valuable for me and will help you also increase the frequency of grabbing your own attention again. The reason triggers work is because we're planting cues for the subconscious to watch out for. And the subconscious is always watching, and we're training it. And so we say, when this happens, it's time to wake up. And then over time, it becomes automatic. We're basically planting glitches in the matrix. That's another really cool way of thinking about it. Instead of waiting to be lucid, you plant wake-up codes in the film itself. The goal with this is to scatter enough triggers throughout our day so that we increase the frequency of our awareness and consciousness, so that we're able to grab our attention more often. And what this does, this helps us choose more often the direction in which we want to send our thoughts and thought energy, and the direction, and also become aware of our emotions. Emotions is the way that our soul communicates with us to dictate if we're thinking in the way that's best for our highest good, or in a way that the soul does not like. And the other thing why this is really important is because it helps you break the pattern of potentially being sucked down a vortex or a spiral, or being hooked by a pendulum. And so there's so many reasons why you want to have your attention and awareness, but ultimately it's about controlling our reality and moving towards our highest lifeline. I have some homework for you. This is an exercise from Tufti. It's called Strolling Through the Dream, and it's all about experiencing reality from your new state of self-awareness. I would love the next time you get out of your house and you go somewhere where you're not known and it's a little bit unfamiliar, whether that's a new cafe, whether through small, through the farmer's market, whatever that might be. Next time you walk through a place and you are interacting with people, you kind of need to interact with people, you focus your attention on the two screens. You bring your attention to the center. You become lucid in the waking dream and you hold it while you go on this walk, right? That's why it's called strolling through a dream. You wake up as often and hold your awareness for as long as possible. You say to yourself, I see myself, I see reality. And you're gonna notice as you walk through this dream with a heightened level of awareness, of presence, you're gonna notice your environment differently. You're gonna see colors with a different sort of hue. It will be subtle but noticeable. You're gonna see that other people might become aware of you that normally are not aware of you. They will see within you, unconsciously, a sort of spark of light. They will recognize that, hey, you're not part of this dream. You've sort of stepped out of the frame. They might treat you differently. They might be more kind. They might offer you things. You never know. This is a very valuable practice. Try this the next time you go out, and please report back your findings. This is the strolling through a dream. You'll notice, or they will notice, that you shine brighter. And it's absolutely incredible. And this is something that will help you see the true, real effects of being awake, particularly in an environment where it's highly populated by sleepwalkers. It's exactly like a dream. When you become lucid in a dream, you notice the characters, the dream mannequins also within the dream, just playing their part. If you walk up to one of them when you're lucid and you go, hey, you realize you're in a dream, the mannequin will look at you with fear or anger or how dare you say that? And one of two things happen. Either they turn on you or they completely ignore you, or your dream dissolves. But that's a story for another time. Anyways, give the strolling through a dream a try and a real gun-ho chance and effort, and try and stay awake for as long as possible as you walk through it. Don't forget your triggers, and have fun with this one. Now, here's another idea that I want to introduce to you now that we've raised our awareness and increased the frequency of our attention. This is the reason why life feels so hard and your goals so out of reach, And I know we all have big dreams, or else we wouldn't be here. Now, most people live their entire life in a state of struggle, and they don't even question it. The reason this is because the world has taught us that every goal must be hard, that we need to fight for what we want, and that success only comes through resistances. In transurfing, that whole worldview is a trap. Ever since we're born, we are trained from childhood that nothing comes easy, that we have to grind for everything in our life, and that everything is scarce, and that only the worthy succeed. This creates one thing: importance. And importance is what builds mountains. It builds mountains out of our goals, out of our dreams, out of our desires, and the things that our heart desperately wants and our soul wants for us. But the funny thing is that there is no mountains. The mountain is only the weight that we have created in our mind due to the importance that we have placed on our goals and our life, because our attention is stuck in the dream trap. It is being dragged by the script, and we believe that the illusion is real. Transurfing is not about achieving, it's not about pursuing, it's not about climbing. Those are struggle words. Transurfing is about choosing the lifeline, choosing the state, choosing the reality. And you can only choose when you're no longer battling your way through life, because the battle creates resistance. The resistance creates the obstacles. The obstacles reinforce the mountain, and your attention gets swallowed by struggle instead of the reality that you really want. In the new age, two things happen simultaneously. One, your intention is more powerful than ever. And two, your self-created wall of struggle is thicker than ever before. The universe is going to respond to your intention quickly, but it's also going to respond to your internal conflict just as fast. If you think that your goal is heavy, big, far, too hard, you create the very resistance that slows it down. One of the most powerful shifts that you can make with this attention work is that there is no mountain. What this means is that I'm not climbing anything. I'm not pushing anything uphill. I'm not chasing or forcing anything. I'm either walking on flat ground or downhill. What I want is already available. I just need to choose it and move toward it calmly. That inner state, that no effort, that's what aligns you to the lifeline where the goal already exists. When nothing is hard, reality opens. If your intention hasn't manifested in a long time, don't think it's because you're weak or unworthy. It's because you decided that it's a mountain and now you're climbing up an imaginary hill instead of walking straight toward what's already yours. If we're able to remove the mountain first, then our path becomes clear, simple, and straightforward. Then we're going after our goal as if we're going to the grocery store to get eggs. That's what's called pure intention. Why can't we go after our really big goals with the same energetic state as if we're going after smaller tasks? It's all the same. It's all the same now. It's all the same eternal now, right now. The tension is only created in our own mind. This right here is why we do the attention practice. It's about dropping the struggle, dropping importance, dropping the internal fight, and holding a calm, confident focus. When we do this, we finally get the freedom to choose our reality instead of wrestling with it. This is how you take your attention practice to the next level. Once you set up your triggers and you're able to wake up more often, the next goal that we have is to realize that there are no mountains. And you can do this by quietly asking yourself these three questions. 1, what am I imagining right now? 2, am I building a mountain out of this? 3, am I afraid of something that hasn't even happened yet? Am I afraid of nothing? Ain't that funny? So in this moment of awareness, you've already woken up and you've stepped outside of the script and you reclaimed your energy. And now we're gonna go through the process of dissolving the mountain. Now that you've caught yourself, there are 3 directions that you can move and 3 ways to re-enter flow, i.e. 3 ways to dissolve the mountain. 1, you can transform or transmute negative to positive. And if you're feeling tension, you can feel clarity. If you're feeling doubt, you can transmute it into trust. And if you're fearing irritation, you can transmute that into a state of calm. 2, you can set your desired direction of reality with the plate. This is something I'm going to teach you a few lessons down, but I'm just planting the seed. Basically, and if you're not familiar with the plate, you can just visualize a desired reality of your main goal, of what you're aiming to achieve, and charge it up with emotion. We'll talk way more about visualizations and all these tools in later lessons. I'm just priming you with that. And 3, you can remind yourself that there is no mountain. And honestly, this does it for me. Becoming awake enough and just reminding myself that there's no mountain is enough for me, because when I have my attention, I have my power. And this is not simply just words. This is kind of a command to yourself and a realization to step into your own power. It's a command to the mirror that the mountain was never really even there. It just existed through your own inflated thought form of importance. This might seem simple, simply declaring that there is no mountain and moving towards your goal as if you're going to get eggs at a grocery store with pure intention. It might sound simple, but sometimes the most powerful techniques of our new age and our new reality is that simple. It ends the struggle, it flattens the terrain, and it also restores your natural flow, because all of that tension was simply, or the obstacles that you thought were simply imagined. And when those dissolve, the energy that you're giving all of those inflated things, when those pop, that energy returns back to you and you instantly feel more powerful, calm, and at ease. Now, the technique of there is no mountain is also exponentially more effective when you also use the I can do anything technique before it. The I can do anything technique helps release physical tension, dissolve psychological blocks, and break the inner sense of limitation. So this is how you do it. As you're standing, or you can do this sitting, you take in a deep inhale through your nose. And as you're inhaling, you're collecting cosmic free energy that's all around you. And you're building it up within you as you reach peak inhale. And as you reach the peak, you then do a strong exhale and throw your hands to the side of you. And well, you don't have to do that part, but I like to. And then imagine an explosive wave shooting out in all sides. And then you say to yourself, you can do it in your head or out loud. I like to do it out loud. You have the thought form, I can do anything. Or you can say, I am free, everything is available to me, there are no boundaries, but I like saying, I can do anything. Sounds a little bit like like something a child would do, but that's the point. We're getting back to our childlike wonder and power that truly we're only limited by our imagination. And so that is such a powerful technique, and I always feel the tension and the limitations just explode off of me. If you need to, do this a few times until you feel an internal shift. And as a final step, after the expansion and explosion, you can state to yourself that there is no mountain and really feel that. And this practice of I can do anything and removing the mountain, it removes all of the imaginary obstacles that your mind has created. And when this clicks, challenges become easier, solutions appear faster, and your actions feel lighter. Now for the final technique of this class, I saved the best for last. This one is called entering the the state of spirit. I mentioned that when we don't have our attention, we don't have our soul. When we do have our attention, we are connected with spirit. We are connected with the observer behind the eyes. And this technique will snap you in that nothingness state of awareness so incredibly quickly and effectively. This practice is going to move your attention out of the body-mind and into the spirit point where you can observe reality and then influence it. I also like to think of it in terms of actor-director relationship. When you're viewing reality from within your body-mind, you are sort of an actor within the play. By moving it into spirit, you step out of the scene, out of the body-mind, and you're able to view reality as a director. And so it goes like this. This is how you perform the technique. You can do this standing or sitting. I do this before my meditations. And what you want to do is enter a state of presence. One is take a nice deep breath in, or 3 or 5, whatever you need. And then say to yourself, I see myself, I see reality, and truly feel it and do it consciously. Then you want to tilt your head downwards at about a 45-degree angle. Find the point on the floor, focus it, put your attention on it, and then shoot, I like to call it an energy beam, out of your eyes. And it doesn't have to be too slow, whatever is comfortable for you, but not too fast either. Shoot it to the point of the ground, and then follow that energy beam back up to your eyes. As it hits your eyes, then lift your head up, and then move the attention from your eyes to a 45-degree angle, basically kind of above and to the back of your head, like right here, like right here. Hold your attention there for as long as you feel comfortable, and then release. This point is fixed, unmoving, and you'll feel it once attention reaches it. This technique does one thing that's really important. One, it breaks your identification with your mind, body, emotion loop, etc., but it shifts your attention to the position of the one who is aware and not the one who's being dragged around by the script. In this moment, you will internally feel that I am attention. You're no longer watching your attention, you are it. Distance above and to the back of the head does not matter, only the sensation of making contact matters. And you'll have different sensations being felt by different people. You might feel a shift in state. I feel no thoughts, no emotions, and a calm sort of expansion. Other people feel energy activated through their body. I do that when I enter deeper states of meditation, but when I'm doing it regularly, I don't feel that, but I do feel basically like an emptiness. I am much more connected with awareness. You might feel weak sensations at first or nothing at all, and that's fine. Strength will grow with practice. But what you're doing here, each time you hit this point, it will leave power with you. And so you are right now sort of building a permanent trait out of a temporary state. So just stick with it, practice it, and if you can't feel anything at first, just imagining it is enough. It will grow over time. This is a very powerful practice, and it's a wonderful practice to increase your attention. Speaking of attention, before we wrap up our class, let's return back to the challenge, you guys forgot, that I gave you at the beginning of it. You might have noticed that you did not realize when you fell asleep, only when you woke up again. Every wake up moment, whether you had it once or 10 times, that's the real training. That's the muscle. That's the skill most people go throughout their entire day without waking up even a single time. If you even caught it for one moment of awareness during this lesson, you are already steps ahead of the crowd. Now your job is simple: to wake up a little bit more often, hold it a little bit longer, catch yourself a little bit sooner. This is how we take control of the waking dream and become lucid within this reality. This is how we have our date with destiny and dance with the infinite. Attention, my friends, is so, so incredibly important. That said, thank you so very much for providing me with your attention, because I know how valuable it is. It means the world to me that you spend this time with this knowledge and trusted me with the ability to transmit this knowledge to you all. Thank you again, and in our next class, I think we'll be learning about balance. And it's a lot cooler than it sounds, so don't worry. It's the primary law before all laws of the universe. Thank you again. I love you all. Kissies, kissies, kissies forever, and a big virtual digital hug. Thank you for being here. Toodles.